All right, so hey, let's talk about this. So I came really far with OctoKit, and like my biggest challenge for OctoKit was to have this decomposable modular architecture where I have like a small core package, and then you can extend it with plugins, and then how to make such a plugin architecture work with TypeScript was very challenging.
Yeah.
Um, and today I kind of want to build upon what we've already built and address some shortcomings that I've run into and I want to build upon. Also in light that I just want to kind of rewrite most of OctoKit and just want to use native ESM modules, and I want to stop writing in TypeScript and write in JavaScript and have separate declaration
DTS.
files, because I think this would just, I mean, I'm interested in your opinion on it, but basically my point is that for one, it will give me full control on the declaration files and it will not be generated. And some of the types are so complex that they create weird stuff that I just cannot edit myself for this kind of plugin architecture. And the other thing is that when I go TypeScript, everything is typed, including internal stuff that nobody cares about. And it really slows me down. And at some points, it even forces me to write more complex code than it needs to. And by using declaration files, I'm only caring about the public API. So I can focus on that and I can write tests for the declaration files.
Yeah.
But everything internal, I just don't need to type, and I just make sure with test coverage that the test works as it's expected, and then the declaration file tests make sure that the API works as expected.
Yeah.
And I hope that that will kind of make it easier for me to work on it and make it faster, but also make it easier for users to debug and understand what the type problems are and find the source of it, because the declaration files will actually be in the source code, which they are not right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of my perspective on it.
I don't think it's unreasonable. Like Deno, for example, does that specifically. Because they were just like our JavaScript internals. It is a bit much for doing TypeScript because of the amount of interop that we have with Rust. And so what we'll do is we'll just maintain the DTS files as for the core libraries, and they'll be focused on documentation in ways that is harder to do if it was all inside the main app. And it's not unreasonable, is generally my opinion. Like if you care about how you handle the DTS files, then it's just as good as an experience for people outside. And a good chunk of this code is somewhat auto-genable in the way in which you build things anyway.
Yeah.
So
I guess the only disadvantage is that code and declaration can get out of sync.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is something that I have to, worry about. But, I don't know, maybe I need to redo it again in a year or so, but that's where I am right now.
Yeah, like the annual rewrite. It would be if you didn't have tests for your DTS files. And I think that's part of like the thing that keeps you honest.
Is there something like coverage for testing declaration files?
No, not
that would be
knowledge.
Cool.
Yeah, it would be. It's like TypeScript's type system is so hard to describe in a way like coverage way that coverage could work, because everything sort of gets it gets denamed, it gets mangled quite once it gets inside TypeScript. Which is why sometimes it's hard to keep track of the name of something. So, like knowing that a type was once called API user API response can sometimes be very hard to keep track of inside the TypeScript code base because of the way that things get passed around so much and reshaped as you've seen with all your types. Like the amount of generics that you pass something through or conditionals, it's really hard to decide whether it should keep its name or not.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a mystery. I have no idea how the sausage is made. It's just magic. It's just magic to me, which is also the problem, because when something is not working and you don't know how the magic is done, you run into problems and cry for help.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll be hitting the edges of my knowledge too in this. It's like It's
So
very complicated.
let me maybe walk you through like 3 things I would love to accomplish. Not today, but like 3 things I want to accomplish for like the upcoming OctoKit. So one thing is I want certain types to be extendable by plugins.
Yeah.
And the example you have here is I define like a Hello World plugin, which adds a Hello World method, which just logs out like a greeting, and this greeting is defaulted to hello, but you can pass the greeting also as an AutoKit option here, and then it will log my world, right?
Sure. Yep.
And what we have today is that when you load the plugin and you instantiate OctoKit, it will already give you like an IntelliSense for the Hello World function. Like that is already working because it understands the return type of the function, and then it kind of creates an intersection of all the plugins you pass to this function.
Yep.
And that is great.
Yeah,
that was like a
basically.
Sorry?
Like a mix-in pattern.
Like a mix-in pattern, yeah. What is not possible today is for say like, well, I'm developing this Hello World plugin, and I want developers to know that there is a new option that they can set on the OctoKit constructor, which is greeting. And that is something I would love to figure out today. Then let me just walk through the other ones. The next one is inherit constructor options, and I'm not sure if this is the right wording for it. But basically, imagine OctoKit had a required option, which it doesn't today, but let's say it will have, especially because something I want to work on is to improve the developer experience to use OctoKit with GitHub Enterprise Server and the new GitHub AE. Because right now it's not very good. You basically get like OctoKit totally tailored for api.github.com, and if you want to do GitHub Enterprise, it's not very good. So I want to introduce some kind of option to differentiate between the two. But if basically both the options are required and the version key in the options is required for the OctoKit constructor, then the second line here would fail right now. Because
I would assume you have to have version.
Yeah, because it still tells me, well, you told me that version is required, and it does not understand that I've already passed the option and basically changed the default somehow, right?
I see. Right.
So I want this to just work, or like maybe like I can pass an empty object or something. I don't know. It doesn't need to be exactly like that. But I wanted to understand that version is already set here. I do not need to set it again.
Right. So you want to be taking like the object that lives inside defaults, and intersecting it with the result that lives inside that would go into the constructor.
Ooh. Yeah, if it is somehow possible, that's something I want to do. And another reason I want to do this is also the third point, which kind of combines the two above maybe, which is authentication strategies. And authentication strategies is a very important aspect for OctoKit. The simplest one is you just authenticate with a token that you create, in your settings.
But I've seen like two-factor auth and all that,
There is two-factor auth, and there's OAuth, and there are GitHub apps and installations and all kinds of different stuff. Yeah. So GitHub has this authentication system where you can pass in an alternative strategy. By default, it's just token, and then you set auth to like a token string. But when you set it to create app auth, which is the GitHub app authentication strategy, then you get all kinds of options that you have to pass in, which is most importantly the application ID and then the private key, and then other stuff that you can set, like the OAuth credentials, and then even more like caching. So the keys are not the installation access keys are not regenerated all the time, and so on. Yep. So what I want is I want the auth option now not to be typed to string or unknown or whatever. I want it to be typed to whatever this function requires. And now combining with what I said before, because this is a common pattern, I basically define a new constructor which is using one of these authentication strategies as another package maybe. And then I use this app OctoKit package, and I wanted to understand that the create app auth is set as the authentication strategy is set. So I wanted to also understand that now I want to have the IntelliSense for the strategy that was set in defaults and not, to the string that it requires right now. Does that make sense?
I can see that. Like that. Yeah, I can see roughly how that could work. I think it might be complicated.
It's okay. I mean, like, it's advanced and it's very complicated already right now, and I don't expect wonders, but it already helps me, that you at least have some ideas of how this could work.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of it's like, at some point you'll need a union, and basically you'll need that union to be narrowed by the fact that off strategy is one that's in that position.
Yeah.
The question is, can you pull out the type of create app off at runtime, at compile time, so that it knows that is always going to be an object if it's in there. I think it's feasible. It's just a matter of setting up all of the bits.
What I did to make this a little simpler, already to kind of, before I created the current OctoKit type system, is I created a separate package. A JavaScript plugin architecture with TypeScript definitions.
What a great NPM name.
Right?
Name.
Just kind of as a means, like, hey, maybe this is a common denominator for others who want to build similar architectures, and it doesn't have any of the luggage of what OctoKit has. It basically only has the plugin architecture, and it has defaults, and that's basically it.
I see.
So, and here I've started a pull request for the extendable constructor options.
Param to it,
thing. So I would suggest we jump into that pull request here and try to make it work.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That seems like a reasonable space.
Okay, so here I am in the code. Hold on, I have to fit it into the space here. And now I'm in the right branch. So when I think already when I run tests, it will probably fail, or the test for the
TypeScript
test will fail.
DTS files.
Yeah, I use DTS. I guess this is like the normal thing to do here.
TSD, yeah, it's pretty solid.
I'm open to suggestions.
No, there's two big players in the space. There's what do we call DTS lint and TSD, and you should be using TSD, and DTS lint is maintained by the TypeScript team for definitely typed only, but people reuse it in other places.
Got it. Okay,
we don't care about you.
That's okay. I don't care about myself either too much.
It's hard enough to maintain definitely typed, and then to try and take a tool for that and make it generic.
All right, so we have TSD, but I already see it, in the VS Code that something is wrong here. Oh yeah, so basically. Why is it complaining?
Took a very long time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like my computer is overwhelmed with all this OBS stuff that I'm doing. It's all running very slow right now. But I'm learning this stuff as I'm going, just like with TypeScript. But basically, this is what we want. Get foo option, the method should basically return whatever the type is of options foo. And currently the type of options foo is nothing. It's like unknown. I don't know if it shows it to me here because it's not defined, right? I have in index DTS in the root folder. I somewhere define like this namespace base and type options, and there is no.
Yeah, it's just unknown basically.
Yeah. So now. Here we are. Like, how do I make this extendable by plugins? Like, what will you suggest?
You can anything that's extendable by other people should probably be an interface. Is usually the first starting point. Yeah, exactly. So I think there's two ways of thinking about this. There's the simple way, and then there's always the complicated way. So the simple way is like what I did with Jest, which is if somebody includes that plugin, then you assume it's going to be running, and just anybody can augment base the options in their code, and it will automatically do it. That obviously has its downsides of other people have to include this .d.ts file, this d.ts augmentation, because they can just say take the type, go to OctoKit, get the type base.options, and then add this extra thing to it, and that's it, and then it's always available there.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't have any of the fun magic, but at the same time, it's a much simpler type system for everybody. And like, I would tend to go towards that personally.
So basically, I expect when someone imports the package for my plugin, the types are automatically there, even if they don't use my plugin.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's like my bonus down here. Basically, the cool thing is like it would be cool if the foo would only be suggested if I use this plugin. But honestly, it's a problem when it's a problem. It's like if this becomes too much headache and it makes it also harder to author plugins and whatnot, then I would rather not. And also, if this is something that you think, if it becomes a problem, we might be able to address it later with more complex declarations without the whole architecture needing to be redone, then I would say let's leave it out for now if it's too complicated.
Yeah, I think this is how we recommend it to be done on DT, on definitely typed.
Yeah,
generally, which is why Jest is set up in this way too.
So Jest, I've seen I think, hold on, let me find this code that you linked to so we can quickly have a look at this, where you said that's basically what I did for Jest, right?
Yeah.
Here, so if I understand it correctly, you basically, I don't know if you did this or if the Jest team defined a global namespace.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what you would suggest we do. We define a global OctoKit namespace, so people don't need to like reopen a package or anything. They can just say declare global namespace OctoKit or namespace base for this case.
I don't know if we need to. I think we might be able to get away with not doing it global. In part, Jest is global, right? Because Jest is available globally, whereas your stuff will always not. Like I mean, I guess you might have UMD consumers.
Yeah.
In which case, then you will want this. So I guess that's your call whether it should be global or not. But either way, this is the structure that I would recommend as the simplest way to get it working. That should also be it won't bite you in the butt further down the line.
Okay. So then basically, if we don't make it global, then this is already fine like this? The declaration in the core package, or do I need to do anything else?
Your core one, so your namespace probably wants to be called like OctoKit.
It's like, I mean, this is not, this is not OctoKit. We are now in this base. So everything where it would usually say OctoKit, it's just called base now.
Yeah, so that's reasonable. Base options. Yeah, and it's an interface. That's kind of it on that side. You would then, in your plugins DTS file, for example.
So in the plugins, so here we are in this with options plugin.
Yeah.
It's exactly where I want. I would need to somehow...
so you don't export for sure. In fact, paste in the Jest code if you still have that in your clipboard.
No, but I can get it. Okay.
So it's very close actually.
So namespace would be base, interface would be options, and there is no R.
Yep.
And here I could just say foo string.
Foo. Yeah. No quotes because otherwise it's a string.
Sorry, I was just testing you.
That was the quiz.
I'm sorry. I know it's like Friday evening for your time. So.
Yeah, but you should be able to highlight over base options just below, and that might be enough. If you go all the way to options, I don't know where your mouse is. I actually don't get your mouse. There we go. It doesn't say.
I don't share my mouse. Sorry.
No,
so,
it doesn't.
I'm on line 13. I think I could do like this live share thing. Do you want to do this live share?
Yeah. Just paste me the code into our Zoom, and I'll also be in there too.
Okay.
This is also how I do it. Yeah, you got the full setup. You got the Zoom and live share.
Will it show like some secret credentials on my screen now? Because I didn't do this for a while.
It won't. No. The only thing it will show you is an invite code for somebody to join this in a second, but they would have to be very quick, and I don't think it's the full thing shown. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. And now?
It should just be a second more, and then it'll say it's got a copyable. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Yep, exactly.
Copy invite link, and then go to the. I don't know what a Zoom chat is. I will send you a.
Twitter. Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Twitter DM. Hold on. Wow, everything is super slow. This is really putting my MacBook here to its knees. All right, I've sent you the link now.
Maybe. I don't see it. Oh, I got it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we use live share a ton in TypeScript.
Yeah, like a friend of mine showed it to me, and it was really magical. It was like, wow, this works really great.
Yeah.
I have one question. You said like the declare global. How does this work if I don't declare the namespace for base globally here? Or do I have 100%. Or do I have to do it global here as well?
No. Let's compare it against Jests. Type /jest. I would assume that the global would be ignored if it's not useful. Let's see. No modules. Type jest. Yeah, I don't see
like if I
too explicit on going global in here. Yeah, in fact, it isn't declared as a global specifically, so it may be needed then.
So, do I need to like declare module something?
So, are we not seeing it?
Well, if I try to access the options here, I don't get any suggestions. So I don't think that the base options interface was extended.
It was extended. No.
By this.
Base global.base. Yeah, okay, let's kill the globals and see what that looks like. Okay, Okay, yeah. So you can't use a namespace in a real file, in a file that has exports. Which does that fit? Let me just do a quick look. Yes, maybe that's what the global is actually used for. Just test this. Okay, so you would need to be a declare. Okay, let's try that back in here. Where does this base come from?
So this base is basically the core package. So the thing is that plugins, the first argument that is passed to the plugins is the base instance. That's why I need to load the base instance, but maybe I should just not.
Well, it's more that this bit is confusing, right? Isn't this... Oh, we're in a DTS file, sorry. Got confused about the evaluation context. So that's grabbing base from the other one, and that conflicts with a local declaration of base, which must be this. Tricky. So if I had that in a separate file, base.options. Interesting. You're right about type A equals that. Yeah, it's doing nothing. Nada. Foo is what we added, right?
Yeah, but we didn't declare it now. Like we removed the code to add the foo options.
I moved it into the file ambient.d.ts.
Okay.
Which is not a special name. It's just I'm just testing out in a file that's not already declared to be it's not already declared to be a script. You know, like script versus modules stuff. That could also affect this.
Yeah, I just read about that it changes as soon as you export something.
Yeah, or import.
Or import. Don't you still have to export like an empty object or something?
Yeah, so you see a lot of the time this sort of that code somewhere in
yeah.
You could argue redundantly, but like this is a JavaScript thing, not a TypeScript thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like which okay, did that get us any closer? Did not. Huh.
So, but do you need to import the ambient file now? Or is it automatically importing all the DTS files in the current folder?
It should be automatically importing all of the DTS files. It's a good call. The index.dts, yeah, it should get classed as being included.
So we try to, in the index.ds in the source file, shall we try to just declare it a global namespace?
Yeah, it can't hurt to give that a shot.
So right now we have like an export declare namespace base. So what I would do is declare global. And in this global, I would add the namespace, or I would need to declare namespace base, or?
This doesn't feel right to me. I feel like so I was looking at some of our working code. They take an existing namespace and they take an existing class and they add prepare hits to it, as well as adding a view to that namespace. So we should be able to take base and extend it with extra things. So this doesn't look like it's merging. when we do that because it's overwriting. That doesn't. It is not pleased with that. So all their examples don't actually including base into their things, but that doesn't help our case right here. Did I include a thing? I made some docs for this recently. I know, there's just a lot. There's a section on DTS templates for module plugins, which I've sent you a link to. I can just post it in here. This is the docs that we wrote for extending another plugin.
Yeah, I think I've read that.
And okay, so the first bit it goes to like, okay, so you've got a greeter and you import this other thing which automatically extends the other one. And what it does is it actually extends it by taking the module and taking the exported interface from that and extending it via declaration merging, which is kind of nice because it actually means that we don't need to deal with namespaces anywhere, which is honestly a better pattern, which I guess is why we wrote the docs that way. Which means that where we have base, this would actually... Oh, this is still declare global. Interesting. Maybe that was also why it was a problem.
No, that's just something I think I just changed while talking to you about it.
So I'm not going to call it options in case that conflicts with anything. I'm just going to call it plugin. Sure. I don't think there's anything that comes with that. It's exported.
Okay, in line 36, we use base options, so we kind of use options. But you could kind of declare the like namespace base and then interface options and then use plugin options within that declaration, right? So kind of instead of making base options directly extendable, you can make plugin options extendable.
Yeah.
I think we got some spam comment on Twitch. Of course. And I have no idea how to block these people.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Okay, so that's fixed all the existing code. Then this can still import base. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is actually going to look to be Okay, so we need to augment this module. So that means this is interesting because this is trying to do it in a way where it knows export modifiers can be applied to ambient modules and module augmentation instances are always visible. Declare. You're not super greeter, you're one of these. Base options? Plugin options?
Plugin options, I think. And then foo.
Greet's even better. In the process, though, we have definitely broken base in a way that I don't think I understand. Oh, because it's not an exported namespace.
probably.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Which B over here is a foo. This B is now a string.
Yay, it worked. Let's check out our tests here. Wait, index. Well, that makes our test pass. So I think you did it.
So yeah, I mean, I guess declare module is a better way to extend to, it's more like a direct import of a type in the way that we do import systems at the top here. I always try and avoid using namespaces whenever I can, but that's because I joined TypeScript at the point where namespaces realistically now are only used in the TypeScript codebase and definitely typed.
Yeah.
Because
this
modules one.
This now works, but others don't. Foo is declared here. Property foo is... Oh, I know, because now it's a required type. So we have to...
Question mark it
and probably remove even better. Remove the other stuff here. Okay. So that is cool. Let me run the test. It will only take 3 minutes now, I guess, with all the stuff running. Well, I can just push it and then, let GitHub run the
tests. Let's see I do it. Yeah.
Wow.
It has no dependencies, so it should be pretty fast.
Yeah, it's usually immediate. So that's like why I guess other people use 2 machines for streaming somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've debated this for TypeScript as well. You can... VS Code has a way to sort of SSH into another machine and use that as like your main environment, which is super powerful.
So when I run a test, it complains. It works in code.
Via TSD it fails.
Yeah.
So it's not unreasonable. It might not be importing. They might be just only having one file in at a time. Undefined. So what's that? Index test 56. Get foo option.
Basically, it thinks that foo option does not return. Oh, I know. I think because we changed the option now to be... Wait, I guess the ambient file we can delete now, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's nothing in there.
Okay, I think because now it's optional.
It is.
So so
it would be string or undefined.
Yeah. So this is what it's complaining about. Argument of type string or undefined is not assignable to parameter of type string.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That seems right. Yeah.
Actually, VS Code should have complained, but
I agree.
Why are these 2 things different?
So this is actually one of those downsides, right? Like the system that I'm recommending here, the sort of global augmentation of that interface, you have to make it a question mark, basically.
Yeah.
But and that's the downside to just having a single type that is the one that's changing.
But it's not a good real life example, right? Because in real life you would use the option which might be optional, but then default it to something that makes sense for the plugin, right?
Yeah.
So probably it should be more... The correct type should be probably more like this or something.
Like you add a hard, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because in the index.js, I would return options foo or my default. I mean, that's like a more realistic use case.
Yeah.
Well, I want to add
because
an
that's your
option,
code,
but
yeah.
I want to make the option optional, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
I agree.
and then in DTS, in the test file.
So then
Oops, sorry.
this file can now be like this, basically.
I'm very confused right now. Okay, I just opened some random windows. So test DTS. Now we can just make the string. Okay, you already did that.
Yeah.
All right, let me commit and push that. Once it's, I need like some, waiting for CI, like some elevator, music or
Some
something.
music.
Okay, so let me see what we changed. So instead of just exporting base, we now export interface options, which extends plugin options. And we do that because importing the base had like a name conflict.
We did that, well, in part, we could try, like, now we've got a working, make a commit of this before we push.
Very,
and we'll see.
that's
see
very,
if we can move it into.
very senior developer of you.
I'm just used to working on my own for a very long time, so I'm like, there's no one else to check back on.
That's great. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. So now, we could try to in the index DTS in the root folder.
Yeah.
We could basically just leave that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. We could make that interface options key, blah blah blah. Yeah.
And then, and then remove this part.
Yeah.
And then, too much. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then in the options
And the other one,
plugin,
we declare module and then do the namespace in here, and I bet we might even be able to pull it out. So names. I don't know if we need to declare here.
So namespace base.
Declare. Yeah.
And then we move this inside and call it options.
Yeah.
It's string. It seems to be working, yeah. So let me remove this extra stuff here too. That is nice. I think that will reduce the whole diff a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's one less step of abstraction.
Yeah, okay, let me do the normal diff again. So, okay, we only slightly changed from type to interface.
Yeah.
For base options. And then we opened the module, which if this wasn't its own NPM module, I would put in here the module name, right?
Name, yep, exactly.
We just have the relative path because it's within the same module. And then, okay, well, here we worked around the fact that foo might be optional. And we implemented it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so basically,
we took that directly from the TypeScript documentation itself, which means I verified it with the team a few times to make sure that was a good strategy.
So let's push that. I really like watching my CI from the terminal now. Have you seen?
Oh, the new GitHub feature. Yeah.
Well, if it won't work, there we go.
Huh.
So now it just kind of pulls the status once per second.
It's funny that crashed live shares terminal, but it's back now actually.
Oh,
I can see your terminal through live share. There we go. It's finished.
Okay. So let me open this. I'm sorry. Let me open this.
I've been working on the new TypeScript CLI, so -- help and stuff like that, and I've been trying to take a lot of advice from the GitHub CLI. They've been doing some really good user interface stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, there is some great content out there. So, well, thank you so much. I should give you some attribution here. Wait.
I think I mean I'm there in the issue title.
Well, not in here.
Not in the Git commit. So this is another thing LiveShare does actually. If you go back into LiveShare, if you go into your Git in here on the far left,
Uh,
the third tab down on the left bar, up, that
source control.
yeah, that actually adds me to the list for commits in that automatically as because I'm in there.
Oh. Oops, sorry. Now I opened the entire git log history. Wait, git log -m1.
Yeah,
Well, you are.
otherwise you'd have to.
Oh wait, but I can
That's
do it. I can do it. I remember I can do it in here. So I can do
with email co-authored by
co-authored by.
or git at author.io.
I think you can do like orta at no reply or something like that.
Nice.
I think.
No reply.github.com.
Look like this basically.
Oh, I see. Users.no-reply. Wow. Where does that number come? Is that your...
That's the ID, but I don't think it's necessary for this. So your GitHub name is Orta, right?
Yes.
Well, let's see if this works.
Oh, why not? I guess you'll see it on the merge commit. Yeah, on the main.
No. I'm very sorry. I will.
Well, I'm deeply offended that I didn't get this bit of attribution in.
But it's just open source work. I want to do this right. I care a lot about giving people attribution.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
even if nobody ever will look at it,
have as much attribution as I do, it's definitely a much better goal.
Anyway, so people watching this, make sure you give co-authorship for commits like this when you pair it with others.
Yeah.
That was a bad example. So, well, this should be released in a second.
You just deploy it, yeah, semantic release, yeah, I see.
Yeah, so we have that out now. And I think that's plenty for today. I don't want to take more of your time.
That was fun.
Yeah, so I will look a little bit into this next thing here. Can you maybe just give me a hint? Like, would you somehow... I don't know, like, basically, I guess there must be, like, an interface
so
for, I don't know, for defaults that can be that will be extended by by inferring the types of the object that I pass in here? Or...
let's jump back into that live share. Have you still got it open?
Yeah.
Okay. Think of it as we're in a shared playground basically.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The thing you need is it will be something that looks like a normal object. So whatever your normal params look like. So
let's say version string.
Okay, and then you'll need something that looks like I don't know yet. Let's call it this. You call it authentication. Was that the other one?
Oh, it was off strategy and off.
Okay, so yeah. So okay, yeah. Oh wait, this is it. Wait, this is the same. This is.
I don't know exactly what I want to do. I feel like you want to do both the next 2 points at once, and
yeah.
And I think you could just do the version thing alone, and then make it basically say, well, you have to set the version. Yeah, well, that is.
All right. So if you do this now, you would have to set an app name. If you include, so you'd say like const a equals const a is a constructor. Right, and for any version that's not Oh,
In
are we
the
in a DTS file? We're in a DTS file. I've just jumped across into index test. Constructor automatically import that. Did it do it?
well, you defined it into the index of the with options plugin.
Just trying to get it imported. Import. From. Is it there? Constructor is a really bad name for this. Super proud of my naming.
So
okay, so that you're right.
But you're addressing the problem now of the authentication types, right?
Yeah.
Not of the defaults inheritance thing.
Okay, cool. So at least I've got that working. So we'll do one. So this version.
I don't know where you are right now. Okay, you are in a test file.
Yeah. So this one here is a way to sort of force someone to have to do the app, because this constructor now can only be valid if it has version and app, because of because there's two options and it has to choose from one of them.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I think about it. And so this is a strategy that you will need effectively.
Yeah.
Like something that looks like this as the end result of a pipeline that can do two different things that depend on a single thing changing. Which means for the case of the auth, right? Like instead of version, you would have that's auth.
So one is auth strategy, which is a function, and then auth is basically the options that the function requires. So I don't know actually if we need a union. Like, couldn't we refer to like kind of this auth first parameter types? You know what I mean?
I know. I can. Like, can we do that? Is a good question. I don't know if this can be used if it's not in a class. You can use it in an interface though. So
auth strategy. Auth strategy is the function that then accepts like an options object or something. And then I want to set auth to the types of the options I need to pass as first argument to auth strategy.
So
no, wait, isn't it like parameters? It's not a return type. It's basically this one, requires like a token string or something. And then I want auth, if authentication strategy is set to this kind of function, then I want auth to be set to the same type that the options are of auth strategy.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a conditional type. So you need to know if. So it's like if this auth strat extends function. Otherwise, do this. So this is a way that you can then extract out param. Can't remember the name of this.
I think it's parameters, but then it gives you an array, so you need to
extract out the first or whatever.
The first one of it, yeah.
Parameters. This.
And then.
right? Wasn't that the?
And then I think index 0 of parameters.
Wait.
Okay.
Okay.
I see what you're trying to do there. Let's see if it works.
I mean, all the bits look fine. Wait, so we need an offstrat first.
Yeah.
So that one. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's the default, right? Like.
Well, the default is just, it's not an object. The default is just a string.
Okay, so this needs to be. Wait, how do we make it so that it's overridable, right? Like, where does that get defined? Where would someone define this? Like, it needs to. This needs to be generic, basically.
Yeah. So I guess it would be generic later on the OctoKit class.
Yeah.
And then it would.
I think that unfortunately might need to look like that. Wait, let's keep a copy of this one.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. So it's like a generic which kind of infers. How do you say infers? Infers from the value that you set off strategy to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Off start.
Yeah. That's yes.
It's okay. I know. We know what you mean.
Yeah. And so instead of this off strat, it would go in there.
That looks better. But then it needs to extend function, right? I guess the generic.
Yeah.
Do we need to have this check then still in there?
Which check? The conditional?
In line 73, the conditional?
Maybe not. I mean, it depends. Do you need to... What happens if this is a no case, right? I mean, if it's always going to extend function, then no, you don't. You just need... I mean, it's just that otherwise.
Yeah.
Right?
We can kind of say that OctoKit, that the off strategy is basically always set, and by default it's set to the token strategy, right?
Yeah. And so you would be able to be like, so, you know, const not 2-factor off equals something like this.
You cannot start a variable name with a number.
Ugh. I had an interesting bug recently with JSX supporting ARIA style things that are not like legitimate identifiers in JavaScript. It's really gnarly. Okay, phone. Sure, you need to give a phone number in this one.
Oh, okay.
So like should be a way to potentially do that, right? That might not even be needed.
Yeah.
The specific bit, because it'll just be automatically grabbed via location. Autocomplete isn't doing anything useful though.
Comma, you need a comma on 48. Wait, I can do that now, right? Hey, that looks good. Wait, no. Sorry,
it does, but it's not inferring it from the position. Oh, yeah. More is more.
Oh, it requires one argument, so we need to set it to some kind of default?
I don't know. So I was thinking, is that feasible? TypeScript's not pleased about putting a this in that position. Yeah, that's not right.
I just set it to this any function then.
Yeah. What does it think? Well, extends is it needs to have the equals, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, if you don't have the extents in there, then it will complain that, it can be any type.
Yeah, which means
So I think
you need both.
you need
Which
both.
is just-
Yeah. I have
see.
this a ton in my code. Like it's extends any and then equals any. Or like not necessarily with the any stuff, but basically just repeating it.
Yeah.
But I don't care because this is how the sausage is made. So
Yeah. As with all of these things, like there will be a very legitimate reason why this needs to be done.
yeah,
but
but it doesn't work.
But it doesn't work. So two-factor auth goes into there. Auth strat. That's just still doing any's everywhere. Yeah, because it's taking it from here. It's not. This does feel off. Like.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, that works.
Now it works. So why?
I mean, if that's there, then you don't even need like that. But that's not. It's not.
That's not what we want. So basically, the auth strategy is required. It must extend a function. It defaults to a function, but I don't get it. Like when we override it.
Yeah. It should. I don't know why it shouldn't be able to pick that up. I feel like I'm missing something. Do we have any other good examples of where these things get automatically inferred? There's lots of namespace. If it is type of T extends. No, none of those are satisfying. This is definitely this. Oh, this is definitely this the shape of what it looks like, but there's just something off. Yeah, empty function can't do that. Why would it be positional? Parameters off strat. Okay, so if we were doing this on a much simpler basis, right? Like, why thinking about the primitives, why is this not getting picked up? So if we were doing this, let's call this off B, right? Like this should automatically pick up what B is. Can't be, well, it was, yeah, there.
What am I doing here? Sorry, I'm messing with your...
Okay, no, I see what you're doing. Yeah. I was gonna just reuse to a TFA. So if that needs to conform to this, so it would need to just be a function that has an off strat, and that off strat can be 2FA. Could it be because we're being explicit? So thinking about the way that is being used, this is being generated here. If it was used more like this, function a, and a takes right, does that care at that point? No.
It complains
it's
about the way you declare a function too. Oh,
Is it?
duplicate identifier. What? Oh, you have a const down there, so that's why.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, a little sneaky back in the constructor originally.
Okay.
No, it looks like
An implementation cannot be declared, so it doesn't need to be this colon thing.
Oh yeah, just needs to be. Just needs to exist. Okay, so off in this case, off is still like a dot dot dot. It knows the positioning.
Still,
but when you mouse over this, it still is an any basically, yeah. So it should, like, ideally it's going to die because of the phone. Why am I not sure of this? This seems like pretty normal generic behavior.
Yeah, I agree. I have done this before, but I am out of ideas too. This is weird. Why doesn't it pick up this generic?
Does it need to pick them up from the arguments rather than from a...
Maybe the parameters thing is wrong. Obtain the parameters of a function type in a tuple. That sounds right.
Huh. We don't really have a bit in the docs on passing, on trying to not rewrite the generics. I think this might be an oversight. I don't understand what we're missing.
What if, does this need to, maybe it's type versus interface? Because I use this a lot, but I didn't use it with interfaces. That's like the only difference that I can see. But I thought they should
you can give it a try. It should behave the exact same, yeah. Name then type. Type name equals, yeah.
What is it complaining about here now? Expected?
Wait, type equals generic.
Oh, wait, the generic needs to go before the, like this, I think.
Oh, it's
right
here, right? Yeah.
Okay. All right, so like this. Well, now it's work. No, that was just my computer being slow.
But what? Is it any? Is it because we're using any? And it's just gobbling up any changes? So there's something going on here.
Not
Doesn't look right though in that error. But it feels like this is something that I've seen a bunch.
so your function takes an object, returns void, is not assignable. Types unknown. Huh.
Oh, this is getting even nastier. Function data 2, but that's got all this jamming. But like all of that, like the goal is to get rid of that, not to
Yeah.
not to fill.
Maybe try it in the TypeScript playground. Maybe it's something with my local
environment. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Oh dear.
So we have this, and then too far, basically until here. Let me try this in the playground.
No, that's a good point actually. I wrote a bunch of extra tutorials in the playground on generics. Generic classes, generic functions. I didn't have one on generic objects. So like some of these examples from the playground rely on sort of, you have a function that takes a type and the argument going in is what sets it. Which
number is declared, but its value is never read. What? The too far. We don't set the. Is it like executed as code?
Which one?
Yeah. Well, I just copied the code in the playground, but the playground now expects TypeScript code and not the declaration file, so I guess it's a little different.
Yeah, it is a little different. Okay. If you go to the tsconfig at the top, you can choose the language to be TypeScript definitions.
What tsconfig at the top? Oh, here.
And then change the language. And then it'll be a DTS file.
Ooh, that is cool. Well, I learned something new. But that should work. But it doesn't. So it just tells me off is any. But I've seen this as well before, that it somehow cannot.
I'm not finding much for places where you can do this, except when it's in a function.
Well, you know what I think I will do is I will clean up this example a little bit and then share the playground on Twitter. And maybe someone can figure this out and understand what we are both missing here. Basically, the question is, why is the types of not inferred from the function that I pass on the same object? Because that's what it should do from the generic.
I agree. Yeah.
That's what I will do then.
Yeah, I think that feels about right. Like, but also, like, an array can figure out that the things inside it are an array without you passing. Oh, can it? Maybe it can. Yeah, I think it can. Yeah, it can. Yeah. This should be doable. Pretty sure that it should be doable.
So what if we make this less, like instead of using like this args array, and we just say option any, and we don't use a tuple at all? It's still the same. No, that makes no difference.
Yeah, it's still falling through.
All right.
Yeah. There's something. There's something here. I just don't know what it is.
I don't know. Maybe it's Friday telling us to calling it a day.
I mean, it is 10 o'clock at night for me.
It is, and I really appreciate it. And I'm very sorry for your wife for taking you away on Friday night.
No worries. All right, then we'll call this.
All right, Oda, thank you so much for your help. Well, we definitely fixed the base constructor options problem.
Yeah.
So that is great, and that's released.
Okay.
And we kind of got stuck with the authentication strategy options magic.
Yeah, at least we've got an idea of what that looks like, even if we're not sure what the actual answer
is. So I will ask about this on the Twitters, and we'll ping you. Yeah. So maybe someone else can figure that out. There are plenty of smart Twitter folks out there.
Yeah, I mean, I usually just tell people to go ask in the Discord, because there's people that like answer the same questions again and again and again every day that seem to really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah, I got some help from Twitter's from TypeScript's Discord. Yeah. Like they have like all this queue system, and it's just magic. Like, you are cute. It's, I don't know. It's like being in a waiting room, and then counter 4 is now available for you. It's so cool.
All very automated. Yeah, they did some great work on that.
It's pretty amazing, really. Cool. Yeah, so I will keep you posted about this, and maybe I'll ask you for more help in the future. Cool. And you can just say, "Come on, Gregor, don't bother me again about this." That's okay.
All right. You have a good one.
You have a great weekend. Thanks again, Norda. Bye-bye.
No worries. Ciao.